A to Z installation instructions for Bmw 1250 GS carbon fiber valve and coil cover guards. What you will need. Supplied items are valve and coil cover guards right and left, two 15 milliliter tubes of 100% silicone, 6 Q-tips. Items not supplied are rubber gloves, liquid dish soap, measuring cup, 1/2 cup, isopropyl alcohol, and blue masking tape. Completely read installation instructions before attempting install. Pay close attention to manufacturer's safety precautions for silicone and isopropyl alcohol. Start by putting your bike up on its center stand. We have noticed some differences in fitment of the factory crash bars on the GS 1250s from the manufacturer, and or the bike has been laid down hard enough to bend the crash bars. You will need a minimum of 100,000 inch clearance between the rubber bumper on the crash bar and the valve cover. If you don't have the capability of measuring that gap, it is really close to the diameter of the shaft of a Q-tip brand Q-tip with a paper shaft. Just cut the swab end off of the Q-tip we supplied to check the clearance. And that's all you need. This is a lot more. This one probably has close to, well, it's probably over 1/4 inch of clearance, so it's good to go. If you don't have the necessary clearance, you can still install our carbon guards if you choose to trim down or remove the rubber bumpers. After you verify clearance, remove the crash bars. On models with upper and lower crash bars, only remove the section that need to be removed. This bike just has a lower crash bar, so that's all we've got to worry about. Some of the 1250s have a spacer in behind the upper mount. This one does. You gotta make sure that you keep a hold of that thing when it comes out of there. And then once those are loose, you can just support the crash bar and get those ones, the 2 bottom bolts, so they're close to being out. Your carbon fiber guards come clean. The inside surfaces have been wiped down with isopropyl alcohol. Do not touch the inside surfaces with bare hands to avoid contaminating area to be bonded with silicone. Wipe all dirt and debris away from valve and coil covers. Remove the single bolt from the coil cover and remove coil cover from bike. While wearing rubber gloves and following isopropyl alcohol's manufacturer's safety precautions, wipe down the entire surface of valve covers and coil covers with alcohol applied to a clean, lint-free cloth. I like to do it twice just for good measure. At this time, you can reinstall the coil cover. There's a protruding area here that indexes into a slot. Choose a clean work area to prep carbon fiber parts. You may want to cover area to avoid getting silicone on surfaces. Also lay down paper towels to avoid scratches as the carbon parts will be laid face down. When installing these carbon fiber guards with silicone, it is very important to only apply pressure in areas that have double back tape. We recommend marking the outside of the parts with blue masking tape in line with the double back tape so you know where to apply pressure. You can see on this one, these ones I've pre-marked. Dry fit valve and coil cover guards to familiarize yourself with how the parts fit to your bike. Guards will index into position if pressure is applied evenly to the outside of part where you mark with blue masking tape. So these things do locate really well, and you can see like once it's pressed down, I mean, the only movement that you're gonna get is the flex of the double back tape. And so when you're applying these, you want to make sure that you're not pushing anywhere in between the tape, because you can see that the whole part will flex. And what that'll do is it'll compress the silicone, and then when you let go, it'll pull it right off. So you'll lose adhesion in that area. Same thing with the coil cover guard. I mean, they fit really good. You do get a little bit. It's a little bit deceiving because it seems like the coil cover is actually flexing quite a bit, but what it is it's the plastic part actually just kind of floats in there. So from the factory, it's not the tightest. Well, it fits great. It's just got a little bit of flex in it. All parts will be prepped and installed one at a time. Valve cover guard first, then coil cover. We recommend completing installation on one side of the bike and then the other. You want to mix up half a cup of water with 5 drops of liquid dish soap. So I've got pre-poured a half a cup of water there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I just want to mix it up really good. Remove the backing from the double back tape by picking at the corner of backing with the point of a scribe or some other sharp pointed object. It's kind of a bugger to get this stuff off, but if you pull a little flick on it, it seems to work pretty good. So you can get underneath the corner, actually poke the blade right through the tape, and it will come up. Might want to get a little closer on that. Make sure to wear rubber gloves and follow manufacturer's safety precautions when using silicone. Open one of the supplied 15 milliliter tubes of silicone, invert lid, and puncture membrane. You want to lay a couple test beads on a disposable surface. You're shooting for a bead that is the width of the inner diameter of the nozzle and fully round, not smeared flat. You want to hold the silicone tube at a 45-degree angle to the surface and let the bottom edge drag on the surface. We have supplied plenty of silicone to do a few test beads for practice. So basically you're looking for a nice round bead. The silicone is time sensitive. If it starts to tack, it won't allow the parts to be located correctly. You have roughly 15 minutes to complete the installation of each guard. Replace the cap on silicone when not in use to avoid it starting to cure and nozzle. Silicone is also affected by temperature and humidity. Initial tack times may vary in your area. When you have a good handle on the silicone application process, move on to the first valve cover guard. Silicone beads will need to be applied to all areas marked with the silver paint pen. It is very important that you don't apply too much silicone. Stay within the marked areas and away from the edges of part. Silicone is aerobic and requires oxygen to cure. If too much is applied, it can trap off areas and will not fully cure. Helps when you use the one that you already opened. You can just let it roll. I'll just edit that shit out. That's what I was wondering. Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't care. I mean, I got to do editing anyway, so. Good. There you can see all the silicone applied. So after you get the silicone on there, you need to quickly apply a small amount of soapy water to the exposed surfaces of the double back tape with the supplied Q-tips without getting any water on the carbon guard or the silicone. If you do get water on the carbon, you can dab it dry with a fresh Q-tip. Also, to help with knowing how wet to get the Q-tip, you can dip it in the soapy water, and I do a little shake and I'll run it across the back of my glove. And that's what you're really looking for. So you're looking for it to wet out without pooling up and beating up too thick. So yeah, a little dip, a little shake, and then just go through and just hit the surface of this. And what this does is this allows, it's the same way they do wrapping cars with vinyl. So it allows the double back tape to just kind of float on there for a minute before it adheres. So what happens is when you push this on there and you press it down, it will it'll press that soapy water out from in between the tape and the valve cover. It doesn't affect the bonding of the tape, which we're actually not relying on anyway. The only reason why the tape is on there is to create a 25 thou gap bond gap for your silicone, and also it holds the valve cover in position while the silicone cures. And there you go. Position yourself on a low stool or sit on the ground next to your bike. Slowly line up the guard with the valve cover and lightly push into position. When the guard is close to locating, it will contact the silicone. At this time, you want to place your fingertips on as many areas as you can marked with blue masking tape. So you just want to walk it up in here nice and even. And you get it close, and it's going to come in contact with the silicone, and then you can literally let go of it. And you just want to space your fingers out and get a nice even push. And as long as you're pushing where the tape is, you're not going to flex that carbon part, and it should go on really even. Pretty even pressure. And you kind of want to just slowly apply pressure. And even though you don't really know that it's locating, I've put enough of these on with and without silicone, and they really do go into position well. And so yeah, so once you get it on there, you're just going to want to come around and literally, put as many fingers on there as you can, and just give it a nice, firm, even pressure. I mean, you don't have to push super hard. Yeah, and then just literally, you can hold it for like about 5 seconds, and then move your fingers to a different position. And what that's going to do is going to squish out that silicone, and then the double back tape is going to touch down, which is going to adhere it to the valve cover until your silicone cures. You don't want to push so hard that you actually flex the double back tape, because that's going to be a whole nother problem. You're actually going to compress it, and it'll spring back a little bit, but pretty firm. And there you go, one done. If silicone is applied correctly, you should not have any squish out on the edge of the guard. If you do have squish out, you can wipe it with a clean, dry cloth. You want to always fold it repeatedly as you're wiping, so you don't want to wipe like this, because then really all you're going to do is smear it around. So if you do get squish out, which this one looks really good. Yeah, it's dry. So what you want to do is you want to come in and you want to just do a wipe, and then fold that dirty area to the inside. Do another wipe, fold it to the inside, so on and so forth. It will come off. You might have to use multiple rags and go over it multiple times to get it all off, but you'll get it to a point where you're not going to see it on the valve cover or the carbon part. If you stick to that layout and kind of the amount of silicone that we recommend, it should be really good. So at this point, we need to check and make sure that we have enough room to get your coil cover off. These were designed, they're pretty tight fit to the coil cover, but just a quick check will let you know whether it ended up in the right position. You don't want to get too nasty with this cover, but at this point you should be able to just pull that guy off. There's not very much clearance, but it seems to work just fine. And then just kind of wiggle her back in a little bit. And goes back in. If installation is not successful, remove guard. You can get it off by prying and slowly pulling, and it's going to come apart. You want to let the silicone completely cure at that time. And after it's cured, you can contact A to Z Composites for cured silicone removal instructions. Do not attempt to wipe large amounts of uncured silicone off inside of guards or the motorcycle. It'll make a huge mess. They do locate really well, so you shouldn't really have any problems. Select the coil cover guard that matches the side you installed valve cover guard on. Repeat the process for the coil cover guard. Now that we've got all that stuff done off camera because it takes way too long, we're going to repeat the same thing here. And same thing, you want to just kind of give it a if you just float it in there. Once you get it close, and like I was saying earlier, this part actually, it does fit really good, but it feels like it doesn't because of the flex of that plastic part. So you get into position, and then you're just going to give it nice even pressure. Couple different spots. Yeah, and you just kind of want to move around a little bit. And if you just apply firm pressure and just hold it there, it's going to hydraulic that silicone out. And they're really on there before the silicone's even cured. And there you go. And then you would repeat the entire process for the opposite side of the bike. After these installed, you do not want to disturb them or ride the motorcycle until it's fully cured. They say 24 hours. I would also wait for 24 hours to remove the tape. There's no reason to remove it right now. As long as you use blue or green painter's tape, it's not going to leave any residue on the part. I would also wait the 24 hours to put the crash bars back on. There's no real reason to do it right away. I mean, I guess unless you're in a big hurry. I'm going to do it now, just because I want to show you guys putting the crash bars back on there and what it looks like fully installed without all the tape on there. So the manufacturer recommends putting this crash bar on and putting the top bolt in first with a spacer in front of it, and then the tab on the frame sits on this side. Well, it's really hard to hold this in position to do that. So we're going to recommend a different way. So if you grab the back bolt, then behind here, get the back bolt in, just get it started by hand, and then get the front bolt in and get it started by hand. You might want to grab your extension here with your Torx on it. Then you can run these guys down till they're almost if they're within a 1/4 inch of being tight, you're good. And what that allows you to do is to put this guy, the spacer, in between the frame and the tab. And I know you can't really see this on camera, but when you go to do it, it'll make sense. What that allows you to do is to trap that spacer in between the upper mount on the crash bar and the frame. And so you can line up the hole, and then you can pinch it in between there and insert the bolt. Way easier. I actually tried to do it the way they recommend, and it was a total fail on my part. So, and then you want to torque these to the manufacturer's torque spec and the order that they're calling out. So they're calling out rear bottom first to 55 Newton meters. We actually have to finish tightening the guy up a little bit. You can get them almost hand tight. Go. So yeah. Lower rear bolt, 55 Newton meters. And then upper front bolt, the M8 to 19 Newton meters. And then the lower front bolt, they're calling out 56 Newton meters. And there you go. All cleaned up. If you guys need to clean these things up, Kiwi black shoe polish works really, really good. Shines them up real nice without scratching anything. And big thanks to Cody at Pacific Northwest Motorcycles for letting us use another BMW. This definitely wouldn't be possible without him. Big shout out, and you guys have a great day.